What's up, y'all? It's popping. What's cracking? It's D. About to react to this vid by Kiana. It's titled "The Disturbing Reality of Ultra Processed Food." Somebody told me to react to this because they said I'm always hating on fast food. Very funny. But sure, let's see what they have to say. I'm interested. I'm interested in the tea on this McDonald's and Burger King that y'all eat. Let's watch.
You may be eating pre-digested food.
Ew.
And it turns out we're all eating more of it than we think we are.
Ultra-processed foods are often cheap and convenient, and Americans, of course, eat a lot of them.
Because here's the thing, ultra-processed food isn't just junk food. It's showing up places you wouldn't expect. It has taken over the grocery store. And I think we all already know that it's unhealthy, addictive, and more.
Eating too many ultra-processed foods could shorten your lifespan.
Raises the risk of diabetes,
heart disease, fatty liver disease,
and depression.
They can cause harm similar to
Heavy on
smoking.
depression.
Eating them too often could be taking years off your life.
But this article breaks down one of the hidden reasons that ultra-processed food is leading to all these issues. And it's not just calories or sugar or a lack of fiber. Quote, according to emerging science, it may be due to manufacturing processes that pre-digest raw food ingredients. We are eating pre-digested food. The idea of eating pre-digested food is just
digested
so
it
visibly
first.
awful.
Basically, the opposite of farm to table.
But you know what? I love reading about
Ew.
how the food industry is because it just gives me so much drive and motivation to say, fuck ultra-processed food. Knowing they're making bank, tricking us all into eating something that's terrible for us.
And it's so funny because I talk so much shit about fast food and I feel like people be on the defense about it and just like, bothered that I talk shit about like McDonald's and stuff. But it's like, how are you in defense of this disgusting poison? Like, you're literally getting poisoned eating this while these corporations are getting rich. They're getting rich to poison you. And you like, yes, Daddy McDonald's, keep poisoning me. Don't you dare talk about this delicious, disgusting Taco Bell. Like, what? Everybody should be anti-fast food. This is nasty.
Gives you that little...
And it don't even taste good. That's the crazy part. Like, you're conditioned to feel like it tastes good because you eat it all the time. You fucking grew up on it. Again, I already talked about this in a previous video, but I didn't eat a lot of fast food growing up. I mean, we ate it like special occasions type shit, but my mom cooked a lot. She cooked for, her whole family. So, yeah, I did not like fast food like that, and I still don't. So that's carried on to adulthood. But yeah, it's poison. And you've been conditioned to think it tastes good because you have been exposed to it too much. You're now addicted, but it's not actually good.
Be like, no, I'm not going to touch any of my old favorite UPFs. Not you corn pops, not you pizza pockets, not you ramen,
This frozen shit,
not
this
you
shit is
bottom
nasty.
chicken nuggets. And I'm sure many of you are the same. Like, I just cannot stand being tricked into doing something I know is bad for me. Like, it's just like, no. And hopefully today's
it's not
video
even
will
that,
give you
it's
that
just
same
nasty.
vibe. By the way, my behavior change course, how to change pre-launch
Go
the
support.
program. It's down that is packaged for convenience. Basic food crops such as corn, wheat, and potatoes are disassembled into their molecular parts. Think about that. Breaking foods down to their molecules, that's where the ultra comes from in ultra processed. And it's this extreme level of food processing. So extreme that these foods are pre-digested. That creates this entire category of food. It's not that it's junk food. It's not that it's pre-packaged. It's not that it's really high in sugar or calories. The defining feature of ultra processed food is that you could not make it at home if you wanted to. It's only possible for these foods to exist because of modern food science. To explain the point in a more tangible way, let's think about the difference between an apple and an apple pie, but from McDonald's. Researchers split food into 4 groups depending on their level.
Somebody recently told me that they have been doing studies and shit and discussing how leaving out fast food in certain places, like around certain wildlife and shit, they won't even eat it. Like starving wild animals, they won't even eat it because they smell how processed and poisonous it is. That should tell you something.
Processing. 1. Unprocessed or minimally processed foods. 2. Processed culinary ingredients. 3, processed foods, and 4, ultra-processed foods. So 1, unprocessed or minimally processed foods. This group is pretty self-explanatory. Apples belong to group 1. These are your whole foods with nothing added. This level includes all fresh, dry, and frozen fruits and vegetables, grains, meat, eggs, milk, fish, nuts, and seeds. Group 2 refers to processed culinary ingredients such as salt, sugar, butter, honey, olive oil, or spices. Now, group 3 refers to processed foods. The term processing just means that a food has undergone a change from its natural state. This level includes canned food, cured meats, wine, cheese, fresh bread. To use our apple example, applesauce, canned apples, or prepackaged apples preserved with lemon juice. So in group 3, we usually have a food product that's made up of almost all just real food. It can be baked or boiled or preserved or canned or fermented or mixed with other foods. So it's important to note that processing itself is not bad. It's when you take things too far. In group 4, ultra-processed food is the definition of too far. So here is the definition given for group 4. Ultra-processed foods are formulations of ingredients, mostly of exclusive industrial use, typically created by a series of industrial techniques and processes. So instead of food, it's industrial ingredients.
That's crazy. I don't ever eat any of this shit. Even the times when I've gotten really fat. I'm gonna die right now. I'm kidding. But I never eat this type of shit. I'll go to restaurants. Like, even when I'm eating out, I'm always like getting like DoorDash shit. And I understand that not everybody's able to do that. So, you know, I get it. But my point is that this this is just disgusting shit that I feel like, yeah, people do consume on a very regular basis. And it's crazy because Beyond Burger is here, and a lot of vegans love it. And they think that they're being so healthy.
For group 4. Ultra-processed foods are formulations of ingredients, mostly of exclusive industrial use, typically created by a series of industrial techniques and processes. So instead of food, it's industrial ingredients that have been created through a series of industrial techniques. See what I'm saying? This is the problem. There's just not a lot of normal ass food in ultra processed food. And group 4 is where we find our McDonald's apple pie. See, a homemade apple pie is only a level 3 food because, yeah, it's got sugar and fat and whatever else, but it's really just a combination of regular old processed ingredients you can find in any normal home or grocery store. A McDonald's apple pie, on the other hand, is a group 4 ultra processed food because it's made up of a ton of industrial ingredients created by a series of industrial techniques. And if we take a closer look at the ingredients of the apple pie, many of them are quite industrial sounding, which clues us into the fact that they must have been created through processes similar to pre-digesting, as mentioned in our article. Basic food crops such as corn, wheat, and potatoes are dissembled into their molecular parts, starchy flours, protein isolates, fats, and oils, or what manufacturers call slurries. The bulk of what is extracted is starch slurry, a milky mixture of starch and water, but we've also extracted proteins and fibers, according to a video explanation of the process from Starch Europe. Roughly half of the starch slurry goes to produce starch-based sugars and other derivatives. Those are created by hydrolysis, a process similar to human digestion. Next, with the help of artificial colorings, flavorings, and glue-like emulsifiers, those slurries are then heated, pounded, shaped, or extruded into any food a manufacturer can dream up. So food manufacturers rip real foods apart down to the molecule, turn them into slurries of starches and sugars and whatever else, then combine these slurries and powders with oils and emulsifiers, and from there they could remodel them to seem exactly like the normal foods we know and love. Take potato chips, for example. When they were invented, they were just really thin slices of potatoes that were fried and then served. If you have an air fryer, you could easily make potato chips at home with just 3 ingredients: a potato, oil, and salt. But let's compare that to a Pringle. A plain Pringle contains dried potatoes, vegetable oil, corn flour, cornstarch, rice flour, sugars, maltodextrin, mono and diglycerides, salt,
I used to get the sour cream and
wheat
onion.
starch. I actually thought that was going to be way worse than that, but this is a plain Pringle, so none of the seasoning is on it. But let's investigate.
Actually, I had them recently, so let me shut the fuck up. Acting like I never ever eat processed food. I'm not saying that because I definitely do. When I was in Japan, I also got some Pringles from 7-Eleven, some sour cream and onion Pringles. And I had a sandwich with it, so
to start, dried potatoes are likely not just whole ground
just
potatoes,
not on a regular
but
basis.
an incredibly fine potato flake. that's extracted in a similar process to what the article has been discussing. Then we have vegetable oil, which have you ever wondered exactly what vegetables go into vegetable oil? The packaging on this one shows tomatoes, celery, carrots, and spinach. But I was curious what exactly qualified as vegetable oil, so I looked up the USDA definition of it. So here are the requirements. It says that vegetable oil refers to any refined, bleached, filtered, and deodorized oil, and can consist of any one or a combination of the following: canola, corn, cottonseed, olive, safflower, soybean, sesame, and sunflower. Yeah, let's name a product vegetable oil and put vegetables on the container that contains little to no actual vegetables. And refining, bleaching, and deodorizing definitely all qualify as industrial processes. Moving on, next we have corn flour, cornstarch, rice flour, sugars, maltodextrin, and wheat starch. So at least 3 of these are these pre-digested slurries we just learned about. So they turn those things into a paste, and then to bind them all together, they add in the mono and diglycerides, which are a type of oil emulsifier, which is again created through a sort of pre-digestion hydrolysis process as well. Stick everything together and shape it up into a perfectly stackable potato.
How often do y'all clean
rice,
this shit?
sugar,
It's not look
wheat
easy to clean.
chip, and the end result is something that technically has components of real food, but is nothing like any real food you've ever seen. And again, the insane thing here is a potato chip really only needs 3 ingredients. But somehow, with ultra processing, something so simple is turned into a frankenfood with the sole purpose of maximizing profits. And see, with a Pringle, it's junk food, right? So you're not exactly expecting it to win a prize for the most wholesome ingredients. But the problem with ultra processed food is they are everything now. Much like the regurgitated food mother birds feed their babies in the nest, ultra-processed food is quick and easy to digest, according to experts, but that's not how the human digestive system was meant to work. When food moves through the digestive system in ways Mother Nature didn't intend, the body loses the ability to send a signal of fullness to the brain, said Dr. David Katz, a specialist in preventative and lifestyle medicine. Your body is expecting to have to break down the nutrients in the food. So when this process is already partially completed, it's no wonder that people are so hungry. It's no wonder that people are overeating. It's no wonder that the obesity rate has been skyrocketing since at least the 80s, around the time that ultra-processed food entered the food supply in an unprecedented way. And it's not just that this food is making us hungry, it's that this food is making us crave.
It's so thin, crispy, and cheesy, and I just want to keep eating it. And eating it.
Because when something is digested quickly, it's not just hitting your body quickly, it's hitting your brain quickly as well.
Why would they
And
make
in
this
the world of
commercial?
addiction, there is this important concept of rate of delivery. The faster the drug hits your brain, the higher you get, and the more addictive the substance is. Add in just the right ratio of sugar, salt, and fat designed to tickle our taste buds, and an ultra-processed food that's nearly irresistible is born, said Dr. Chris Van Tulleken, author of Ultra Processed People. It could be a pizza if you put some cheese and tomato on top. It could be a burger bun. It could be a grain bar, a breakfast cereal, an ice cream, or confectionery. They all have the same list of basic starting ingredients, he said. It's an illusion of food. It's much cheaper for food companies to destroy real foods, turn them into molecules, and then reassemble those to make anything they want. And that is the problem right there. We are all eating edible food-like products. These foods are products first and foremost. The only thing that they're designed to nourish is a healthy profit margin. And you see, the real problem isn't that ultra-processed foods like Pringles exist at all. The problem is, what happens when the entire grocery store is made up of foods that barely qualify as food? And most people have no idea that this is true. Most people have no idea that they are being tricked. Like some sort of virus, the ultra-processed food category has grown to take over the entire grocery store. Foods that you'd never expect to be ultra-processed junk food products are. You know, it's one thing if people were knowingly buying junk food, right? It's another thing to be purchasing a yogurt cup for your kids that promises you that it's wholesome, only for it to be nutritionally comparable to an ice cream cone. And not an ice cream cone made of cream and sugar, but an ice cream cone made of modified milk ingredients, gums, and emulsifiers.
Apparently, this ice cream is so fake that they can't even call it ice cream. It's called a frozen dessert instead.
Nearly every food product we consume now is designed to be unsatisfying. Let's think about the grocery store. Obviously, we have our junk food, our honey buns and Debbie cakes and Cheetos and candy and whatever else. But then we also have most breads, and not just Wonder Bread. These are all ultra processed too. Nearly all cereals, including probably 98% of the healthy cereals. Most frozen dinners, yes, including most of the healthy seeming ones. Nearly every and any food directly marketed to children. Any non-dairy milk, most plant-based foods, and like 95% of everything in the health and diet food aisle, including protein bars. Estimates say 73% of the food supply in the United States is made up of ultra-processed foods. Eating ultra-processed food is the norm for us now, and we're still in the really early stages of figuring out exactly what that's doing to us. 20 healthy volunteers were locked away from the outside world for 1 month. For 2 weeks, they ate only ultra-processed foods. For the remaining 2 weeks, they ate a diet made up of minimally processed foods. Each diet contained the exact same quantity of calories, sugars, fiber, fat, salt, and carbohydrates. The only difference was that one diet consisted only of foods that were ultra processed. In 2 weeks, participants on the ultra processed diet gained an average of 2 pounds, 0.9 kilograms. On the minimally processed diet, they lost the equivalent amount of weight. Now, obviously, 2 pounds in 2 weeks is nothing crazy, but think about what that might do to you over the weeks or months or years of just consuming the normal diet that most people consume in society. This is the norm. On top of that, what makes the study so interesting is that these diets were matched for composition. So the participants eating the ultra-processed food were eating the same amount of protein, calories, sugars, etc.
But they said and macronutrients. Which ones? All of them? I feel like that would be really hard to do, to match every single macronutrient, because I'm thinking of sodium, because usually really processed food has so much sodium in it, so they probably gained a lot of extra water weight, I'm assuming, but they're not specifying what was matched other than calories, sugar, fat, and fiber. I would like to know what the sodium was.
A group eating the minimally processed fresh meals. And yet the ultra-processed food group were still hungrier. They were still eating more calories. Science is really starting to reveal that it's not the lack of fiber, it's not additional sugar, it's the ultra-processed foods themselves that are the problem. There's something seriously strange about the way our bodies are processing these ultra-processed foods. They seem to be dysregulating the checks and balances our bodies have to keep us from gaining excessive amounts of weight. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because it's not just about weight, it's about overall health and metabolic health and more. It's funny, as you scroll down through this article, all the related links to other ultra-processed food articles are so bad. Study finds growing evidence of link between ultra-processed food and cancer. Artificially sweetened ultra-processed foods.
They always say shit causes cancer,
study
though.
finds. Ultra-processed foods now account for 2/3 of calories in the diets of children and teens.
Yikes. But I mean, all this is very depressing information. And the fact that 73% of the food that's available to us is super duper processed is crazy. Crazy. And I get that a lot of this stuff is cheaper. So people who just don't have the means, they reach for, this cheap ultra processed food. But I feel like we're in a time where you have grocery stores who offer more affordable, healthy options. Like, people will always talk about how expensive healthy food is in the past, but Trader Joe's has a lot of cheap, really cheap healthy food. Like, and their produce is pretty cheap. I feel like it's comparable to like the regular grocery stores, their cheap food. So can't always use that as an excuse, because you can find healthier food at low costs. And also, like, beans, rice, like simple shit like that, that's like minimally processed, that shit is also super cheap. Beans and rice, crazy cheap. So there are ways to get around the fact that they're trying to poison us and kill us through fast food and, in the grocery stores, it's ultra processed food. But yeah, very sad situation. Y'all let me know what y'all think, though. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.